Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of AWS SheBuilds TechSkills. I'm Chikra Gandhi. I'm a solution architect from AWS. And if this is your first time listening, this show is all about amplifying the voice of women in technology, sharing their journeys, their insights, and their advice. I'm here with my wonderful co host, Annie. Do you mind introducing yourself and what excited you to participate in this episode?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Annie Bruce, a customer solutions manager at AWS, where I work with financial services customers to help resolve roadblocks and accelerate their migration, modernization, and innovation in the cloud. I'm excited to participate in this SheBuilds episode to help raise awareness about women doing amazing things in technology.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. Today's topic is going to be really interesting. I would say that we are seeing some interesting shift in how financial institutions handle their core systems, and instead of maintaining everything in like traditional data centers, I would say that more companies are moving to cloud platforms for better scalability and innovation capabilities. And what's interesting in that is like some of them are not just thinking about moving their systems. They are also using these migrations as opportunities to modernize the technology and processes, and also being very strategic about it. Annie, what do you think about that?
Uh, I think plus one. But for me, there are key trends showing up in almost every customer conversation I'm having. And I think they really help set the stage for today's discussion. Regulatory pressure is having a major impact on how fintechs evolve their cloud environments. So even companies that started cloud native often need to upgrade or rebuild parts of their system to build or to meet higher expectations around security, resilience, and transparency. We're also seeing modernization take center stage on organization scale. So older services or acquired systems are being either re-architected with microservices, serverless, and managed services so they can reduce that technical debt and move faster. And finally, data and speed are becoming real differentiators for fintechs, looking for more real-time insights and the ability to innovate quickly without increasing risk.
That's so true. Yes, I totally agree with that. And which is why I think like today's conversation is going to be really timely, because we are going to hear from someone who is leading exactly at this intersection: technological innovation with genuine social impact. We recently had a really great conversation with Vani at Dark Matter. Dark Matter provides loan origination solution that automates the complex processes and uses dynamic tasks to prioritize the work. And Vani shared us their success story, highlighting a key migration initiative that recently completed. So why don't we revisit that conversation? Let me share it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of AWS SheBuilds Tech Skills. We have such an amazing guest from Dark Matter joining us. They are a leading tech-driven revolution in the loan origination space. And we have Vani joining, the chief architect for today's episode. Vani, do you mind giving a quick intro? What's your role, and how's your career journey so far?
Hi, Jigna and Annie. It's good to see you. It's my pleasure to join this call, and thank you for having me. I'm the chief architect at Dark Matter Technologies. I oversee architecture across all our applications and guide the teams to build applications according to our standards. Prior to Dark Matter, we were a company called Black Knight Inc. I was the CTO of a few applications in the origination technology division. In 2023, Black Knight was acquired by Intercontinental Exchange, Refit was ICE. As part of the acquisition, due to an FTC requirement, our division was divested into our own company called Dark Matter Technologies under Constellation Software.
Awesome. And I'm just looking at your background. It looks like you are at some conference or something. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I'm at Horizon. It is our annual user conference. We are hosting it here in the beautiful Amelia Island in Florida. We have over 300 attendees this year, and we are excited to showcase our new products and features.
That's amazing.
All right. So we recently heard about the large scale migration you led. That must have been quite the journey your team was on. What are some of the main drivers that pushed the team to make that move?
When we became our own company, we had a FTC mandate to fully separate from Black Knight by the end of March 2025. This included moving all our applications hosted on Black Knight's infrastructure to our own infrastructure. We had to move all the source code, we had to provision resources for our employees, etc. So basically, starting from scratch. So that was the main driver behind the migration.
Interesting. So when it came to the actual migration, what approach and strategy did you use? Was it more of a lift and shift to get things done quickly, or did you have an opportunity to refactor and modernize along the way?
It was a combination of both. We already had a few applications hosted in Black Knight's AWS cloud, and we had a good relationship with our AWS account team. So AWS was our obvious choice. Our applications have different flavors. So we have server-based applications, serverless applications. We have both single tenant and multi-tenant applications. So when we decided on the migration strategy, it had to be per application basis. So we had to make a choice as to what makes sense. In some cases, we were able to transition the accounts from the Black Knight landing zone to Dark Matter landing zone. In some cases, we just ended up creating new accounts, redeploying the applications on our side. And we also have some legacy applications that we had to support. So a lot of factors went into the decision, mainly with the tenancy of the applications, how much data is stored in these accounts, etc. So the first application we migrated was a server-based multi-tenant application that actually doesn't store any customer data. So it was an easy choice for us to move. And with that, product, we actually migrated the account from the Black Knight's AWS landing zone to our landing zone. That was easy. And then we did a couple of serverless applications and so forth.
Since you talked about like some of the migration journey things, were there any like legacy challenge that you had to overcome? Because that one of the thing that we have seen with many of our customers, that it's sometimes it's little difficult to change the things that have been already in place for many years.
For sure. So we had a desktop application that was being accessed via Citrix by customers, which means we not only had to support Citrix, but since we didn't have SSO for Citrix at Black Knight, we also had to support managing the users separately. So one of the goals with our migration was to make sure that all the applications were accessed via Dark Matter's SSO platform. So what we did was, instead of using Citrix, we chose to use AWS AppStream for that application. So it was really simple because our applications, all our other applications use Dark Matter's SSO for user access. And since we were able to integrate AppStream with our SSO, it became really easy for our customers because it was like any other application they already access. And we were able to provide the same functionality with AppStream. And we also had APIs hosted via Black Knight's centralized API management system called Apogee. So when we transitioned APIs from Black Knight's infrastructure to Dark Matter's infrastructure, we had to work through some limitations. So for example, some applications needed to support payloads more than 10 megabytes. So those kind of applications we couldn't host using AWS API Gateway. So we actually had to be creative and come up with solutions that would cater to different needs of the application. So in this example, we actually ended up using CloudFront as our API gateway so that we could support higher payloads, and we could also support applications that take more than 30 seconds to execute.
Awesome. All right. So for the architecture geeks amongst us, those that would be tuning in, can you give us a high-level overview of what your cloud environment looks like now? I'd love to hear about how you set up your landing zone, account structures, and some of the key AWS services you leaned on.
Absolutely. Since we were starting from scratch, it was critical for us to ensure that our new infrastructure either met or exceeded the enterprise standards we had at Black Knight. So we engaged AWS Pro Services for building a new landing zone. Let me bring up a deck to talk through this. We did the migration in phases. We had several meetings between AWS Pro Services and Dark Matter teams. The first thing we focused on is Cloud Foundation. Cloud Foundation refers to foundational elements and best practices for building out a cloud infrastructure. It includes things like account setup, security configuration, cost management, operational procedures, etc., to build a robust and efficient cloud platform. And then we did a lot of deep discovery sessions. So since we were migrating some accounts from the existing landing zone in Black Knight's environment, we had to look at the policies, what kind of security we had in place, since we wanted to make sure that we were still compliant with all those standards. And we were also trying to make our platform more secure and compliant with the industry regulations. So we had individual meetings with the applications. So each application that had to be migrated, we did deep dive sessions with the application teams to understand the requirements for those applications to make sure that as we build the workload accounts, we are taking into consideration any dependencies, whether it be something like directory services for the EC2s to domain join or any kind of security requirements that we are meeting all those standards as we work with the applications. So we did assessment of the existing applications, and a decision was made whether to migrate these accounts or create new accounts in our landing zone and redeploy these applications. We also had detailed migration plans for every application, and we fully involved all the teams from Dark Matter. So you can think about the different, application teams, DevOps teams, SysOps team, our ISO team, and we had a release management team that was coordinating all these efforts. And we also had our account management teams, our production support teams to help us through the migration. And once we had the foundations laid out, we knew exactly how this new landing zone was going to be laid out. We went into the execution phase. This is where we would build all the scripts. So basically, AWS worked with us closely. They would give us some scripts, and we would execute those in our landing zone and make sure that all the account structure meets our requirements. And once all the workload accounts, the core accounts were set up, then we went into the application deployment. So that is when we actually either brought in the accounts or created new accounts to redeploy the applications in our workload accounts. The next slide basically goes over the cloud foundations. So the things we considered, like the governance, risk management, and compliance and operations, part of the cloud foundations. And we did have breakout sessions with AWS Pro Services team, and they also brought in specialists when it came to specific topics. So we did have somebody focused on network, somebody focused on security from AWS to help us with our journey. Since we were building a brand new infrastructure, we had to take into consideration a lot of things like IP address management. So we wanted to make sure that the IP space that we allocated for each applications made sense. There was room for growth. We had to come up with a connectivity architecture. So we have a centralized ingress into our network, which makes it easier for our clients to whitelist our IPs, provide centralized ingress so that we can better control the ingress into our environment, apply proper security. We had to think about, for server-based applications, what that connectivity looks like to the backend load balancers in the workload accounts. We had to also consider cross-account VPC connectivity. We had to consider connectivity between Black Knight landing zone and Dark Matter's landing zone because we were still dependent on some of the services on the Black Knight side as we were working through this transition. For example, we were still using their virus scanning software for some of our applications until we were ready to stand up our own virus scan software. So until then, we had to keep that network connectivity, but once we had our own infrastructure, like our own core services stood up, we slowly disconnected the accounts that were dependent on their software and removed the network between the two landing zones. And we also had to take into consideration things like certificate management. Because we were our own company, we had to update all our domains to use our company domains instead of Black Knight's domain. So a lot of work, as you can see, was put into this architecture, considering all the things that we had to do to be able to fully migrate off Black Knight into our infrastructure and making sure that we are meeting our enterprise standards and we are making the application more secure for our customers. As I mentioned, a lot of teams were involved from Dark Matter for this effort, pretty much everybody in the company. So our cloud services team is responsible for building out the cloud infrastructure, new account creation. We have dedicated ISO team that takes care of our security and making sure that our applications are compliant, continue to be compliant, and also in some cases have better security in our new infrastructure. We have a dedicated identity management team that made sure that our AWS landing zone was accessed only via our corporate SSO. We have dedicated network team, directory services and operations team, and of course, architecture and engineering. We coordinated with product management teams, application development teams, release management, production support, client account management team. So it was an entire company effort to do something major like this, where we were becoming our own company and making sure that we are still taking care of our customers' needs and building this platform in a secure way that gives them confidence in our applications.
That was so much helpful, Vani. Thank you so much for sharing it in detail. I know there are so many phases and there are so many teams involved and so much of things to track. Can you tell me, like, how did you, measure the progress, or maybe like track completion of, of the migration project and the different steps under it?
It took a lot of planning and coordination with multiple teams. Our release management team was responsible for the overall progress of the project, tracking to completion. Our account management teams, client success team to constantly communicate with the clients. We built playbooks for every application. So, for example, Empower, which is our flagship loan origination system, is a single tenant application. So we had to come up with a schedule for every client that had to be migrated, and we held meetings with the clients, gave them information about what to expect, what changes that they would have to do. Since we were going to use dark matter domains, we had new domains, IPs to whitelist for them. So we took a group of clients every month. We held meetings with them, and we walk through a deck that showed the URL changes, anything that they have to do. So in some cases, they have data replicating to their database servers. So we had to coordinate with them to make sure that they were fully aware of what changes they needed to do to support the migration.
That's helpful insight. Can you talk to us a bit about migrating beyond the tech? So, getting the team ready for the shift. Were there any skills, mindset, or culture shifts that had to happen within the team?
It was a huge effort across the company, and our executives made sure that the core members of these teams met monthly. So we had meetings before migration. So we planned out the migration schedule. And there were also training required for our customers and our internal teams. For example, we changed the way the desktop application would be accessed from Citrix to use AppStream. So we recorded videos um, to train our customers and our internal employees. We changed the SSO platform. So we recorded videos on what the access looks like with our new platform. So it was a huge effort bringing everybody together and making sure they had the appropriate training and the understanding of the migration effort so that they can confidently communicate to our customers. And we had several meetings internally to ensure that our playbooks were verified with the application teams, that we had the right steps for the migration. So definitely a huge change for our company. But it was great to see everybody come together and work on this together and get it done under the deadline. Or
That's such an amazing thing. I really, want to congratulate you for, such a successful execution. Since I know it's a recent work that you have done. Are there any, like, tangible business outcomes that you have already started seeing since the migration?
definitely at Black Knight, we had applications on different infrastructures. So we had some applications hosted in our data centers, and we also had applications hosted in AWS. So we didn't have visibility into the infrastructure, and we also had dedicated enterprise teams that would handle network and enterprise architecture. But as our own company, we have better visibility because we have migrated all the workloads to AWS. So we are able to see any opportunities to save cost. We have better tooling to automate account creation, and we can consistently enforce our standards across all applications since we are hosted in the same environment. So definitely able to manage your applications from an infrastructure perspective, cost perspective, security perspective, much better than what we had with the different infrastructures at Black Knight.
That sounds wonderful. So now that you're on the other side of this project, what's next? Are there any upcoming activities you're excited about that build on the new cloud foundation?
Since we spent 2024 on the transition, we had to put some projects on hold. This year, we are picking up our product enhancements. We are actually announcing exciting product features at our conference this week. We have a new API developer portal for our customers to access. Um, and we are always looking to provide value to our customers through our product offerings.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Vani. I know we are almost at time, but before I let you go, I had a one quick question. Any message or any advice you would like to share with, especially the young women, who are aspiring to the technology field or maybe the leadership roles? Is there anything that you would like to share it with them?
What I want to say to women specifically is two things. The first one is don't hesitate to take the next step in your career. Sometimes we second guess ourselves and end up being our own blocker. I want to tell you what my manager said once. It's not about knowing the answers to everything, it is about knowing how to find the answers. So it's okay if you don't know how to do something. You will learn and you will progress in your career. So never hesitate to take the next step. The last thing I want to say is support other women and lead with empathy. I work with some incredible women at Dark Matter, and I wouldn't be successful without their support. So pay it forward.
Great
Awesome.
advice.
Yep, totally. Thank you so much for sharing that. And once again, thank you so much for being with us and sharing some of the great insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jigna. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Vani.
All right.
Okay, wow. I mean, what a great example of how intentional planning and modernization can turn a regulatory requirement into an opportunity for long-term scalability. I think Dark Matter's approach really shows what's possible when teams align both with technology and their business goals.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. I think I enjoyed so many of valuable aspects from this conversation we had with Vani. Um, Her candid sharing about transforming a critical business challenge into like a modernization opportunity was really inspiring, especially how they use this work to improve the tech stack instead of just doing the bare minimum. And I liked how she highlighted the human side of technical transformation, discussing the importance of training, customer communication, team coordination alongside the technical details. And lastly, I would say that her closing message was very empowering because, especially the quote about success being about knowing how to find the answers rather than having all the answers, that was really amazing. Anything you want to add?
I think to build on that, I mean, just when I think about it, like, can you believe the scale of what Vani accomplished? Like, she led a massive cloud migration for an entire company, essentially rebuilding their entire tech infrastructure from scratch. And I think what's really impressive is how she managed to migrate multiple types of applications from server-based to serverless, single tenant to multi-tenant, all while meeting strict FTC requirements. For me, the most inspiring part of the conversation with Vani was how she brought the entire company together. I mean, we're talking about coordination. She mentioned DevOps, security, network teams. I mean, it was a laundry list of teams and even client management and customer outreach. It was a true company wide effort. And then they did all that while maintaining high security standards and actually improving their infrastructure. I think maybe lastly, similar to you, Jigna, I was struck by her approach to leadership. She emphasized supporting other women in tech and truly embodied what it means to lead with empathy. Vani, I think, is showcasing not just technical prowess, but a commitment to building an inclusive, collaborative environment. I mean, absolutely remarkable.
Totally. 100% agree with that. To our audience, if you want to know more about dark matter, please do check out their website. And there is a detailed case study that has been published, which talks a little bit more about the migration success story. So please do check out on that. And yeah, feel free to connect Vani on LinkedIn as well. Okay, awesome. So that actually brings us towards the end of our show. For our listeners, we hope you are walking away with not just few new ideas about technology, but also an inspiration to continue building your own path.
And we'd love to hear from you. So share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, tell us what resonated with you the most. Your feedback really helps us bring even more amazing women to the show.
Yep. And we also have some exciting episodes coming up. So make sure you're subscribed to that. We'll be talking to leaders who are, building in AI, cloud security, and much more. And plus, reInvent is coming in just few days. So we'll have so many more updates and announcements to share. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Thank you once again for joining us. And thank you to all of our listeners for spending your time with us today. Until next time, keep learning, keep building, keep inspiring.
Thank you.